Let's keep the conversation going on Starbucks. We've got Sara, Senatore, Bank of America Senior Restaurant Analyst. Sara, let me just start with your takeaways from the numbers that we got. A bit of a mixed results. I mean, positive, things are moving in the right direction, but still some headwinds abroad.
Yeah, I would say more positive than negative. So from the perspective of the US, certainly one of the, if not the best same store sales numbers we've seen come out of the earnings season this quarter. The fact that they had 10 points of check is certainly a reflection on, as earlier was said, people adding food, people customizing, but also, they said they did have positive transactions, which is a real rarity in this operating environment right now. So that combination was really, I think, very unique and a testament to how strong the brand is and the affinity that customers have. Outside of the U.S., very, very strong results, with the exception, of course, of China, where we know lockdowns led to really intense mobility constraints. But even there, the same store sales were better than people had anticipated. So really recovering very nicely when some of these restrictions are lifted. And again, I think a reflection of how strong the brand is and the ability Starbucks has to connect with consumers in that market, and is how well positioned it is when the lockdown restrictions ultimately are lifted.
Starbucks certainly not unique in raising some of their prices. We have seen so many food restaurants, really try to make up for the additional costs they're having to pay for. But I wonder how much more pricing power you think Starbucks has.
Well, I think you make a very good point there, which is that Starbucks is not unique. And in fact, Starbucks has actually taken less price or, smaller price increases year over year than most in the industry. So if you look at the, a consumer price index for food away from home, which is restaurants, you see that that's up, 8-9%. I think about 7.5-8% year to date. More recently, if you look at some of the other restaurants in the industry who've reported 5-6%, which is what Starbucks has on their menu, is actually the very low end of the range. So typically, we're hearing prices more in the 8% range. McDonald's took 10. Chipotle took about 11.5 on their menu. So to have 6% price increase year over year really is exceptional, but only in the sense that it's lower than what you're seeing at most other restaurants.
And finally, Sara, I want to get back to the point you made about China. I mean, certainly the expectation seems to be that if there is some softening on a zero COVID policy, activity kicks up, people go back into stores. These are all positives, especially for retailers like Starbucks. But we're also looking at some significant downturn in terms of the economy, in terms of the broader growth that we're seeing, unemployment higher in the second largest market there. I mean, what's a realistic expectation about how much Starbucks can return to, or to what extent Starbucks can return to pre-pandemic levels in China?
Well, I think, a couple things. One is just in terms of thinking about the pace of growth that Starbucks has in China. Big part of it has been new unit growth. So same store sales have certainly prior to COVID were healthy in that kind of 3 to 4% range. But really the big driver of growth and of value creation for Starbucks and for Chinese consumers has been opening of new restaurants. So, the expectation is that they can continue to do that at a low double-digit pace. Certainly, if you look at the store base, it's roughly 6,000. That compares to the U.S. of over 14 or 15,000. So think about the relative size of the population. It certainly would seem to suggest that their target of about 9,000 stores in China is eminently achievable. So I don't see reason to think that unit growth has to slow. To your point, Starbucks is very cognizant of the economic pressures facing the country. But I think, what they have done so well in the last few years is really adapt their loyalty program and make sure that they can really speak directly to customers one-to-one, which I think is very important at all times, but certainly as consumers are thinking about their budget, as they're thinking about where they want to spend their discretionary dollars.
Sara, Senatore, Bank of America Senior Restaurants Analyst. It's good to talk to you today. I really appreciate the time.